Hello everyone and welcome to EduTap. So guys, in this session we'll be discussing the previous year exam for the year 2017 which was conducted for the RBI assistant for prelims, and in this session we'll be discussing the English part. So guys, let's start with the session. Now I'll be solving the questions with you, and in this session we'll be discussing the first half of the paper. So the first question was on reading comprehension, guys. So let's read the passage and let's try to solve the questions. Kevin thought Mrs. Spencer was the most disagreeable person he had ever seen, with her common, highly colored face and her common fine bonnet. When the next day they set out on their journey to Yorkshire, he walked through the station to the railway carriage with his head up and trying to keep as far away from her as he could because he did not want to seem to belong to her. It would have made him angry to think people imagined he was her little son. But Mrs. Spencer was not in the least disturbed by him and his thoughts. She was the kind of woman who would stand no nonsense from young ones. At least that is what she would have said if she had been asked. Kevin sat in the corner of the railway carriage and looked plain and fretful. He had nothing to read or look at and sat with folded hands on his lap. He stared out of the window with his lips pinched together, and it seemed quite natural that the rain should have begun to pour down in grey slanting lines and splash and stream down the window panes. He watched it so long and steadily that the greyness grew heavier and heavier before his eyes and he fell asleep. Finally, they reached the station. Kevin stood up and tried to keep his eyes open while Mrs. Spencer collected her parcels. The little boy did not offer to help her because in India, native servants always picked up or carried things, and it seemed quite proper that other people should wait on one. The station was a small one, and nobody but themselves seemed to be getting out of the train. The station master spoke to Mrs. Spencer in a rough, good natured way, pronouncing her words in a queer, broad fashion, which Kevin found out afterwards was Yorkshire. A Brahmin stood on the road before the little platform. Kevin saw that it was a smart carriage and that it was a smart footman who helped him in. His long waterproof coat and the waterproof covering of his hat were shining and dripping with rain as everything was, the burly station master included. When he shut the door, mounted the box with the coachman, and they drove off, the little boy found himself seated in a comfortably cushioned corner, but he was not inclined to go to sleep again. He sat and looked out of the window, curious to see something of the road over which he was being driven to the queer place Mrs. Spencer had spoken of. He was not at all a timid child and was not exactly frightened, but he felt that there was no knowing what might happen in a house with 100 rooms nearly all shut up, a house standing on the edge of the moor. What is a moor? He said suddenly to Mrs. Spencer. Look out of the window in about 10 minutes and you will see, the woman answered. We've got to drive 5 miles across Missel Moor before we get to the manor. You won't see much because it's a dark night, but you can see something. He asked no more questions but waited in the darkness of his corner, keeping his eye on the window. The carriage lamps cast rays of light a little distance ahead of them, and he caught glimpses of the things they passed. After they had left the station, they had driven through a tiny village, and he had seen whitewashed cottages and the lights of a public house. Then they had passed a church, a vicarage, and a little shop window, or so in a cottage with toys and sweets and odd things set out for sale. They then were on a high road, and he saw hedges and trees. After that, there seemed nothing different for a long time, or at least it seemed a long time to him. At last, the horses began to go more slowly, as if they were climbing uphill, and presently there seemed to be no more hedges and no more trees. He could see nothing, in fact, but a dense darkness on either side. He leaned forward and pressed his face against the window just as the carriage gave a big jolt. Hey, we are on the moor now, sure enough, said Mrs. Spencer, and this was taken from The Secret Garden by Franz Hodgson. Now, guys, let's solve the questions that have been given on the basis of the passage. So question number 1, here we go, guys. Which of the following is true about Kevin? Now your options are: Kevin hated traveling and wished to stay back at home. Kevin was a sick child who could not move about much. No. Kevin judged people on the basis of looks and was snobbish. Kevin was quarrelsome and treated the people around him with a lot of unkindness. No. Kevin wanted to travel to some other place but was being taken to Yorkshire. No. The true thing about Kevin was Kevin judged people on the basis of looks and was snobbish. See, he was talking about the look of Mrs. Spencer and the way she, dressed up, and the way he described the people he met on the way. So he was basically a snobbish who couldn't carry his own bags, and he wanted someone, a porter to carry his bag. So he was a snobbish kid who judged people on the basis of his looks. Question number 2, guys. Which of the following best states the characteristics of Mrs. Spencer? She was a kind woman and remained sweet to Kevin? No. She was a strict woman and was just doing her responsibilities, ignoring his ill manners? Yes. She was a greedy lady and flattered the little boy to gain more money? No. Mrs. Spencer was unkind towards the little boy and she meant harm to him? No. She was a vapid woman who kept silent and was least bothered about him? No. I think she was a strict woman, as it was given that she would have answered to anyone that they're going to a place. So she was strict woman, was just doing her responsibilities, ignoring his ill manners. So that is the correct answer here, guys. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following is true according to the passage? A boy was being taken to a place where he had never been before. The boy was kidnapped by the lady and was being shifted to no. The lady was taking the boy to his native place, which was far away from the station. No. The boy was returning to his home with the lady. No. The boy was out on a tour and was going to travel several places. No. So I think the correct option is the boy was being taken to a place where he had never been before. So that is why he was not able to recognize anything, guys. Next question, guys. Which of the following describes the boy's state of mind in the passage? He was angry that he had to travel against his will. He was low that he had to go to another place and travel so much. He was excited to see the new place where he would be living. No. He was unclear and clueless and kept on wondering how the house would be. And he was happy and cheerful. No. So I think the correct answer is he was unclear and clueless and kept on wondering how the house would be, because he hadn't seen the house before that. So he was all curious about where he is going to. So option number D is the correct answer, guys. Next question, guys. Which of the following can be said about the financial background of the boy? Now, he belonged to a rich family. He was a poor boy and was traveling in the most. No. It can be understood that his family had recently become rich. No. He belonged to a middle class background, and nothing pompous has been. No. Nothing can be inferred about the financial. No. It can be inferred that he was a rich boy. He was traveling in carriage and traveling in trains and going to a manor which had 100 rooms. So he obviously belonged to a rich family. Right, so option A is correct. Question number 6, guys. Which of the following best describes Kevin's traits? Your options are: he was a scared, timid boy who was extremely obedient. No. He was a naughty child but was not unkind or selfish. No. He was arrogant and snobbish and thought too high of himself. Yes. He was a wicked boy who wanted to harm Mrs. Spencer and run away. No. He was a foolish, lazy boy who was interested in nothing but sleep. No. I think he was arrogant and snobbish. That has been described in the passage, and thought too high of himself. So that is the correct answer, guys. Let's move on to the next question, guys. Which of the following is true about Kevin's thoughts while traveling? He was feeling lonely and missed Mrs. Spencer. No. He was irritated and wanted to get rid of Mrs. Spencer. Maybe. He was loving the scene outside and wanted to visit the places. No. He was really curious and wanted to see the land across which he was traveling. Yes. He was feeling scared and did not want to leave the cozy corner. No. Because he was really curious. That is the most apt answer that was given in the passage. He was curious where he was going to, and he wanted to see the land across which he was traveling. So these were the questions that were based on the information that was given, and you had to infer your answers from that information. Now let's look at some vocabulary based questions. So question number 8, you have to find the most similar meaning to the word queer. So queer was given in the passage and it was used many a time. And your options for queer, and you have to find a synonym for queer. Your options are sorrowful, strange, old, scary, or moderate. So guys, queer basically means something which is out of the place, strange. So I think correct option here is option number B, strange. Moving on to the next question, guys. Which of the following is the most similar in meaning to the word jolt? Jolt, and your options are jerk, stop, hit, pull, or rush. So I think let's look at the word where it was. So he leaned forward and pressed his face against the window just as the carriage gave a big jolt. Jolt means a sudden shock. So I think the correct answer for jolt would be jerk, stop, hit, pull, or rush. I think it should be a jerk. Right. So that is the correct option here, guys. Now moving to question number 10. What is the most opposite of the word burly? And your options are humble, kind, puny, crooked, or wise. So I think burly, let's look at the word which was given. His long waterproof coat and the waterproof covering of his hat were shining and dripping with rain as everything was. The burly station master included. Burly means heavy, right? So somebody of big size, that's called burly. And opposite of burly should be humble, kind, puny, crooked, or wise. So it should be puny. Puny is timid, guys, small. So that is the correct antonym, opposite of burly. Next question, guys, question number 11. Which of the following is the most opposite in meaning of the word fretful? So your options are depressed, restive, cheerful, edgy, or arrogant. So guys, fretful is, when you're sad and you want to be alone. And opposite of that should be, I think the only option here is cheerful. That should be the correct antonym of fretful. And last question for this passage, guys. What is the most opposite in meaning to the word disagreeable? Disagreeable is a simple word, something you do not like, something you do not agree with. So your options are strong, rich, pleasant, dolorous, or active. So I think the correct option here is, guys, pleasant. Rich is, rich, strong, but dolorous is again very pompous, active. But pleasant is the opposite of disagreeable. Disagreeable, there's something that you don't like, and pleasant is something that you like. So these were the questions that were based on your comprehension passage, guys. Let's move on to the next question. Now, in this question, what had been given, the following question carries a sentence with a word marked in bold. The word has been incorrectly spelt. Select the word from the options that can replace the emboldened word to make the correct sentence. The existence of UFOs is something that people continue to argue about. So we have to find the correct spelling of the word. Existence, 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 and guys, the correct spelling here is existence. So EXISTENCE. So that is the correct spelling for this word. So the correct option is existence. Moving on to the next question, guys. In return for full acceptance, Western democratic societies demand that immigrant enthusiastically acquiesce to a new nation's cultural values. So guys, the correct spelling for acquiesce is, your options are given. Guys, the correct spelling for acquiesce is ACQUIESCE. So that is the correct answer here, guys. And guys, last question for this session. Again, you have to find the correct spelling. He told the teenagers that such puerile behavior would not be tolerated during the ceremony. So the spelling of puerile is Puerile. So where is Puerile? No, guys. The correct answer is option number E here. So guys, these were the first 15 questions for your RBI Assistant Prelims exam for the year 2017. And guys, do look into the strategy of preparation, and we will be discussing the second half of this paper in the next session, guys. So I thank you so much for joining in, and I wish you all the success for your endeavors in the upcoming exam and for any other exam that you have been preparing for. So guys, if you are preparing for any of the exams, SEBI, RBI, NABARD, RBI Assistant, UPSC, APFC, ICAR, AO, ESIC Deputy Director, you can join us and you can get benefited from our courses. So the links for our courses have been given in the description of the video, guys. If you wish to contact us for anything, please, you can call us on this number during the office hours, 8146207241, or you can drop us an email at hello@edutab.co.in. So thank you again for joining in. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep on working hard, guys.